Hello, I'm Jacques Halbronn. It's a new text on French astrology. I've been speaking in English in the last weeks, and I would like to summarize very considerable results about mundane astrology that we have achieved recently. Well, they are not really new, but they reach a certain level of quality. As you know, André Barbeau has illustrated himself about the predictions concerning the future of Russia, concerning the 1989, and with the sort of revolution which took place at this moment, especially in Bucharest, in Berlin, in other places. And the question is, of course, what is the astronomical configuration which is behind this? For Barbeau, the explanation is the conjunction of Saturn with Neptune, which according to him is directly connected with this geographical area, especially Russia, Neptune, communism, etc. I'm a challenger of Barbeau in many ways. First, because I don't agree that astrology is limited to any special localization, geographical area. And secondly, because I don't believe in Neptune as being, since it's a trans-Saturnian planet which was not known in the antiquity, and actually not known before the 19th century. And I believe astrology has to be based on very old knowledge of the sky, and not something recent. A knowledge which was common and present in the consciousness of mankind during centuries and millennaries. But the other problem is that one case is not enough, of course. And here I will introduce you with a list of 4 cases which belong to the same astronomical process, of course. It's 1989, then 1997, 2004, and 2011. Maybe not all those dates are significant to you at first sight, so I will clarify this point and show that these 4 dates, which are separated roughly by 7, 8 years, are connected with the cycle of 7, which is a Saturnian cycle, a stellar Saturnian cycle, and I think it is a very important tool. But I have to precise before that we have 2 cycles, 2 lists, 2 sets of 7 years cycles. We have a conjunctional cycle of 7 years and a disjunctional cycle of 7 years, which we could call also an aspectal cycle of 7 years, since there is a dialectic between conjunction and any aspect, because the aspect means it's not a conjunction. The aspect means it's when the two factors which are connected by the conjunction are becoming separated. Sometimes I call it this aspectal cycle, or if you prefer, disjunctional cycle, which is more or less the same as the end of the conjunction. But since the word aspect is used in astrology, and in old astrology it was called the regard, when a planet regards another planet, which means it has a certain distance, necessarily. So here I will speak only upon the second 7 year cycle, the aspectal cycle, which means in fact 45 degrees between Saturn and one of four fixed stars, which are Aldebaran, Regulus, Antares, and Fomalhaut, which are more or less separated by the same length, and Saturn needs more or less the same time to pass from one star from the other, roughly 7 years. Not exactly, because it's not something which has been projected, a geometrical structure which has been projected upon the sky, but it's a reality, it's a reality in itself, that all the astronomers could observe, and there were four main points in the sky. It's more important than the zodiac itself, although it's part of the ecliptic, of course. There are four stars which are very near the ecliptic, of course, and correspond to the fixed signs. But this is another story. So we have here the two cycles. One is a masculine cycle, the conjunction cycle, and the other is a feminine cycle, which is the aspectal cycle, ASPCT. And it has nothing to do exactly with the fact that there are men or women who are involved, but it has to do with the mentality of men and mentality of women, which doesn't mean that men cannot act very, very, very efficiently in the framework of a feminine cycle, and vice versa, as we will see with the Ukrainian situation. So I come back. I return on these four important events, periods. Of course, we could enlarge the process to form an older period, which is not the point here. I think 4 cases are already quite significant. So 1989, as we say, has been remarked as the demolition of the whole system in Eastern Europe, and the apparition, the emergence of new structures, or not really new structures, but structures which are becoming more independent, and which finally will tend to enter into the European Union, as especially the case of Poland. And 7 years later, we have something quite different, I must agree. I haven't made a special research, it's just because we know that in France, that's all. In 1997, President Chirac and his Prime Minister Juppé decide to dissolve the Parliament, the General Assembly, which was not necessary because the Assembly had been elected in 1993, so they had until 1998 to renew the process. But they believed it would be better like that. So they dissolved, and there were new elections for the Parliament, and they failed. They failed, and we entered into a new period of cohabitation, with the Prime Minister being now a socialist, Jospin, and they remain in power during the next 5 years until 2002. Well, and I've noticed that the left tendency is favored by the disjunctional cycle, when the right tendency is favored, is supported by the conjunction cycle, roughly. And 1968, 28 years before, 29 years before 1997, which is a whole cycle of Saturn. There was, of course, as we know, everybody knows in France, May 68. We can't say that 97 was comparable to 68, but in fact, it was a very important point also, and a change of policy, a change of because Chirac as a president could not be any more effective, and he remained in that situation until the end of his mandate, which was his first mandate, and it was renewed afterwards in very special conditions. And so we can say that it's comparable, well, not really comparable, but it's comparable to what happened in 1989. That is, sort of, any election is something to do with feminine process, you know, in a certain way, especially when it has, it is a reconsideration of the power which existing. When it is a new power, it's different. When it's the same power, it's on the consolidation. It's not the case here. It is a revolution in the meaning of a complete change of the political personnel, and the return of the left after a parenthesis. But don't forget that even during Mitterrand's presidency, the right have been governing twice by winning the parliament election. So what happened in 2004, that is 7 years after 1997? And there is this orange revolution in Ukraine, which was very striking. And November 2004, Viktor Yanukovych gained the election, but it was refused by the court, the Supreme Court, and a new election took place, and it's the other one, Viktor Yushchenko, who won, and he was accompanied by Yulia Tymoshenko, that probably you know, very, very striking image of a woman. And it's very interesting because it occurred in the same area as it occurred in 1999, and 15 years later, which is 2 cycles of 7 years. So it is very interesting. And finally, in 2011, of course, you remember that in quite a different area of the Earth, we have the Arabian Spring, with the results of the departure of the leaders in Libya, in Egypt, in Tunisia, and of course the great crisis of Syria. As you see, so these four elements are important. I'm sure we can find more events connected with these 4 dates, of course, but I think it's quite impressive as it is, and I think we have really a very interesting key. By the way, I would like to end speaking on the other cycle of 7 years, which, as I said, is connected with the conjunction, and which has exactly the opposite results. The recent victory of Netanyahu, a few days ago, is connected with the conjunction of Saturn with Antares at the beginning of Sagittarius. And I have my Sun conjunct with Antares. And it was rather unexpected, actually. They all expected that it would be the opposite candidate, the socialist candidate, the social candidate who would win, but it was not the case. And he missed his. And I must underline the fact that Netanyahu dissolved dissolved the parliament, the Knesset, and he didn't have to do that. It was not that the right time for that. I mean, it was not necessary according to the usual time of the mandate of Knesset. So he anticipated, and most people compared him actually to what happened in 1997 in France with Juppé, and it was not what he need not have the same misadventure at all. And he won the election, he will be probably, and once more, in spite of all the problems he had with the states, etc., he will be another time the Prime Minister of Israel. And it's his fourth mandate or not exactly. And this is exactly the contrary. See? The conjunction will favor the rise of the confirmation of the power of a strong leader, even being a little in confrontation with the crowd, with the feminine process of the mass. Here we have a sort of, because in fact, and I will end on that, in fact, astrology is all, Mundane Astrology is all connected, oriented around this question. The feminine power is a group, is a mass power, and the masculine power is the leader, is a one-person leader, and it's very typically like that. So we have during a cycle of 7 years, we have these two figures, these two possibilities in alternance, and there is nothing definite. It's obvious that a conjunction process will be followed by an aspectal process. An aspectal process, the junctional process will be followed by a conjunctional process. There is no end of it. Most people think, oh, now it is like that. Now we have a new word. No, there is nothing in astrology as a new period or a new time. It's always a cycle which comes back in circle indefinitely and unceasingly.